Hello, PBLers. It's Lindsey Blackburn here for another edition of Teacher Toolbox. And I'm here today with Brian Verde. He is the principal at the Fast Forward Success Center, which is part of the Fairfield County Educational Service Center. And he has a deep background in working with a wide variety of students in a wide variety of types of schools and districts. Brian, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit, how did you get started with project-based learning?
And I was a classroom teacher at Bexley High School and was looking for ways to really reach out to not only push my highest level students, but also the lower level students that I was working with. We just needed to find ways that made it real for them.
What would you say over the years has been the most what were some memorable moments or wins for you along the way on your PBL journey?
What comes to mind first really is most recently when I was doing the Leadership Academy, when it really talked about that PBL is more than just the content, it's also the spaces and how you structure the spaces to make the content more accessible for the students.
Yeah.
And that's been really helpful here at the Success Center, turning our very old, antiquated classrooms more into learning labs and social emotional environments, supportive environments as well.
Cool. So you're talking about the actual physical space of the classrooms, furniture placement, or different kinds of places for them to do labs, things like that. Correct. Collaborative spaces.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. That's never been mentioned before, so that's a really good tip. Thank you. Any special or memorable projects come to mind where you've just seen some amazing things or transitions in students as they've worked through projects?
Well, we're hoping to see some amazing things this year. I've got a couple of my staff members here at the Success Center that are my social studies teacher and math teacher that are collaborating on a unit to build in some skills for our students here, that some budgeting skills, some employability skills, independent living skills, and they're really just getting rolling with that. But we're really excited because we do have quite a few of our students that are gainfully employed and going to school full time. So learning those independent living skills are going to be extremely important for them.
Yeah.
And so far they're taken to it. So hopefully we're giving them some real life pieces that they can take out the front door with them. Good.
Awesome. How have you been able to continue your learning? You mentioned you started at Bexley High, but that had been some years ago for you. So besides, I also heard you mention the Leadership Academy. So what have been some other things you've done to advance your own learning and project-based learning?
In addition to the Leadership Academy, this past year was really a good refresher year for me. Unfortunately, in some of the other settings I'd been to, PBL wasn't a big focus. So this year I was able to do a couple of book studies, teaching practices, those sorts of things, along with the Leadership Academy. And it's really reinvigorated my desire to do these types of things for students.
Yep, that teaching practices book, the orange one, that's yes. One of my favorite books. I learned a ton from that. It just gives such a nice perspective of like, what is the teacher actually doing? In fact, that's one of the quotes in the book. The teacher says, I had to figure out what to do with myself in the classroom as we transitioned into more student-centered learning. And that was a takeaway from that book for me, for sure.
Yeah, I think in addition to the book study and the PBL plunge, some of the best pieces of what I got through the training this past year was the opportunity to speak with other educators, not only teachers, but other administrators, and bounce ideas off of them and figure out where they are in their journey. There's no such thing as thievery in education. So
yeah, copy and steal everything. Yeah, and that's a huge piece of why we do what we do at PBLMatters is we're trying to develop PLCs. We're trying to develop collaborative cohorts, which you're part of. We're doing these book studies where everybody's in a Google Classroom together. It can read and respond to each other's posts. We're, because we can't physically bring people together to collaborate at this time, we're really making a good effort to do that. So I'm glad you mentioned that, and that's having an impact on you. It's another example of why we're doing these Teacher Toolbox videos, is just to hear from other teachers and administrators about where they are on their journey. Cool. So last March, the world got turned upside down in a transition to online learning and hybrid learning. How have you guys sort of found your way there?
I don't know if we've completely found it yet.
Yeah.
We're exploring every path that we can. So we do find what works best, but it helps us here at the Success Center that we're using a blended model. That while I've got teachers in place, the curriculum is actually provided by an online provider.
Okay.
So we were able to at least have the curriculum piece in place. For us, it's more of the social emotional learning that we're still struggling with, working with at-risk populations, trying to find ways to engage them when they're not sitting across the table from us is challenging. Last spring, we lost them. We just lost them, but we've been very fortunate that with the extended absence from school, our kids were excited to come back September 1st. They were excited to come back and see us.
Yeah, that's great. There was actually a recent PLC we did, and it's recorded, and the posting is on our website, about collaboration and engagement strategies specifically for online learning in a digital space. So if you haven't checked that one out yet, or sent that link to your teachers, they might get a nugget or two out of that. All right, so usually we wrap up this interview with a single question. It's purposely vague, and it is, why PBL?
And I would have to respond with, why not PBL? The traditional things that we have done, the story about Rip Van Winkle waking up 200 years later and recognizing only a school when he goes into a school building, that's not working anymore. It hasn't worked for a long time for a lot of students. So PBL is a way to really bring the curriculum alive, to make it make sense. That the big piece that has always excited me is the student voice and choice. Give them some control and ownership of their own learning. Makes it that much more meaningful for them, as opposed to the stand and deliver model that so many people of our generation have been subjected to. Give the students opportunities to go out and explore and to discover, as opposed to just being told.
Yep. And if for everyone watching, if you haven't seen, there's a website called HQ PBL, stands for High Quality PBL. And there is a case study on there specifically geared toward dropout recovery types of schools like Brian is running. And so it's called ACE Leadership High School. It's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So if you too work at a school where we're serving at needs or at-risk students, that's a great video and case study to check out to sort of make the case about why project-based learning is a good fit. And as we always say, PBL is for all kids. So, and Brian, you saying why not? Yeah, I think is a great example of that. What else, have we tried? That hasn't worked. So let's go with PBL and see what happens. All right. Any closing thoughts? Anything for the road? Words of encouragement for our teachers out there?
I think the best thing I can say is continue your own learning, fellow educators. And this is a perfect opportunity. While the world has been turned upside down and we're all stressed more than we normally are, what an opportunity to take some risks. What an opportunity to try something unconventional and out of the norm, because what have we got to lose at this point? We can only get better. This is a great opportunity for education to turn everything on its heels. We can do things differently now, and we're showing the rest of the world that we're capable of thinking outside the box when we have to. So let's get ahead of it.
Yep. Amen. I must be following the same people as you on Twitter and LinkedIn, because that's what my feed looks like right now. It's like, let's just burst this box open and flip this thing on its head.
Yep.
So, all right, Brian. Well, thank you for your time. Best of luck this school year. And maybe we'll check in again soon and hear about some fantastic projects your teachers are doing.
Great, Lindsey. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Cool. Yep. Take care.